welcome to the Cinnabar, and it's good to be back here on the ranch. And while I love it out there at Cody, there's no place like home. And now some people got really upset when I made the announcement that we had purchased Wyoming Armory and we're going to be moving most of our operations out to Wyoming. But I did mention that we're going to be splitting our time between here on the ranch and back at Cody. So, we're still going to bring you some great content, and I think it's kind of the best of both worlds, where we still have this beautiful ranch here, and then we're going to be operating in a place like Cody that's so steeped in vintage firearm history and culture there, in a state that's not only firearms friendly but encourages businesses, and particularly firearms businesses. So stick around. We'll be making some great episodes from both here and Cody in the future. Like today, we're going to be talking about Colt's early entry into the double action revolver market with their Colt Lightning 38 long Colt revolvers and 38 or 41 Thunderers. These are great little revolvers, just in beautiful condition. I rated the wife safe to bring these out to you today. So stick around. We'll talk a little bit about the 1877, some of the neat features about them, some of the pitfalls if you're a gunsmith and trying to work on these old girls, and then we'll take a few shots with them just to see how they operate. And here we've got a couple of beautiful examples of the Colt Model 1877. Now here on the left we have a blued, as you can maybe read here, 38. So that one referred to in the collector community as a Lightning. They actually made a 38, a 41, and a 32. The 32 was referred to as a Rainmaker. The 41, of course, referred to as a Thunderer. And those terms were not used by Colt. Those were actually coined by, I believe it was Kittredge, one of the dealers coined those terms, and they've stuck and they're referred to even today. Now, of course, this one on the left you can see is a pretty high condition blued with a case colored frame. So we've got a blue barrel, trigger guard, trigger, back strap, and cylinder, and case colored hammer as well, although this one the case colors are a little faded on the hammer, and we can see some of that beautiful bright lustrous blue that Colt, their bluing process and their polishing was just exceptional. And over here, of course, we have this nickel plated Thunderer. As you can see, it's a etch panel. We can see the Colt DA41 here is acid etched onto the barrel, whereas the 38 over here has been roll stamped. Now these are both short barreled versions, what we call sheriff's models, because they don't have ejector housings or ejectors. Now this one's a 3.5 inch barrel, this one's a 2.5 inch, and that was much more common in the double actions to have the sheriff's models than it was in the single action armies. The single action army sheriff's models are quite rare. Now, as I mentioned, these 1877s were Colt's first entry into the double action revolver market, and they were designed by one of their top designers, William Mason. Now, William Mason had been around for a while at Colt, was involved with the conversion revolvers when they were converting the early percussion revolvers to cartridge revolvers, was involved in the design of the open top revolvers, which were fired the 44 Henry cartridge, and then the single action army, the well-known Model P or 1873 single action armies. And so when they wanted to design a double action revolver, they went to William Mason, and he came up with this 1877, and you can see the design similarities are there with the single action army, except for the bird's head grip. They look very, very similar, and these met with a fair amount of commercial success, but they're difficult to keep working, and when they do fail, they're difficult to work on to get them working again. They have very intricate parts, and everything has to be fit just right. Today's reproduction parts for them are pretty poor in comparison, and they take a lot of fitting, and every little part of every surface of every part has to be fit just right, or it affects the revolver's function, and so it's a difficult thing to get going. You can get the single action working, and then you make those changes and the double action doesn't work, or it's working in single action, double action didn't work, get that working, and then the single action doesn't work. So they are difficult, and I've had some that were pretty easy to get running, and some of them have been just a nightmare. Now, William Mason went on after this and designed just the next year the 1878 Colts, which was a much better design. You know, it was designed more for a larger caliber, 44-40, 45 Colt, and didn't actually have as much commercial success, I don't believe, as these 77s. You know, there were approximately 166,000 of these made, which makes them, you know, about half as many of these were made as the single action Army first generations, and even though they had a much shorter run of production. So, you know, they were well received and commercially successful, but just a difficult design to keep running. Now, they were very popular with some of the more well-known gunfighters of the day. Now, today the single action Army seems to have a much broader appeal, but I think mostly because they were the military arm of the day, and because Hollywood really used the single action Army a lot in the old westerns to show what the cowboys used back in the day. But a lot of gunfighters like the extra firepower of these double action 1877s, including John Wesley Hardin. Doc Holliday carried one as a backup gun. He carried a single action Army on his hip and one of these in his waistband. And of course, Billy the Kid's another well-known user of the model 1877. In fact, when he was killed, he was carrying a Thunder, or that's according to legend anyway. So a popular gun for its day. Now I guess it's time to see how they shoot. Okay, so these 1877s aren't really well known for accuracy, especially these short-barreled ones, so we're up close and personal here, and I haven't shot these before, so I don't know exactly where they're going to hit. As you can imagine, back in the day, you know, guys like Doc Holliday, he was probably more worried with how many rounds he could get off across the poker tables than long-range accuracy with something like this, so I think that was the appeal back in the day. Now, these load just like a single-action Army. We go back to the load notch, and the cylinder of course will free spin at that point, and we're going to go ahead and load 6 because we're not carrying it. We won't have the hammer down on a loaded cylinder, and then we'll take a couple of shots with both single action and double action. Fortunately, both of these seem to function well in both double and single. Alright, close the loading gate, then we're going to cock the hammer all the way back and down into the safe notch, so we don't have that firing pin sitting on the primer. Okay, so we'll shoot one of these jugs up front here. Don't expect it to be real dramatic. These aren't a real powerful cartridge. We'll go single action 3 times and double action 3 times. Or I thought we would. Kind of a little hang up there. There we go. Didn't blow it up like some of the rifles that we use, but we did get a hit anyway. Let's see if maybe we can hit some steel out there. It looks like right over the top. One more in single action, then we'll go to double action. There we go. Hit steel. Okay, so let's try double action. Right over the top of it again. It's hard to force yourself to aim under it. There we go. And one more in double action. Oh, had a little hitch in the giddy up there. Let's see how this old 41 Colt does. Okay, so as I mentioned, not extreme accuracy, but fun little guns to shoot for sure. Maybe this Thunderer might shoot a little bit better. Let's hope so. Or maybe I'll shoot it a little bit better. This one, both of these have not had the sights messed with at all, so I'm thinking this one maybe shoots a little high at this distance as well, so we're going to start out there. Okay, so single action first at this jug up front. Oh, I'm not sure exactly where I hit it, but I see all the juice coming out of it. Okay, so single action on the steel target back there. Oh, right over it. One more single action. There we go. Okay, let's see what she does in double action. Aha! So in double action, we're getting a light primer strike. So while it functioned perfectly, running through its paces, this is why we take them up here and shoot them. So this one, for some reason, it's just really light. The hammer's really light when it comes down in double action. So we'll take one more shot in single action and just see if we can hit that target. Well, that one's a pretty good shooter. It does shoot really high. I was having to aim pretty low to get those to hit, but what a fun pair of guns to fire. So while I was shooting those 77s, a group of mule deer just fed right out on that hillside on the other side of the pond from me. I think they probably spied me shooting those 77s, and they're feeling pretty safe. I know I would. Well, thanks for joining us today. As you can probably tell, we really enjoy being able to come out here and shoot some of these old vintage firearms and inviting you folks along. We sure appreciate all your support. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out with the channel. Stay tuned. We're heading back to Cody here in a couple of days, and we've got some fantastic restoration projects in the works over there, so you won't want to miss that. If you're really interested at all in what it takes to repair and restore these old firearms, we got some great stuff coming your way. So until next time, happy trails from the Cinnabar.